Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to talk about solving linear equations. So in general, there's some steps to be able to solve linear equations. Not all of these steps are going to be done every single time, but as long as you kind of check through in this order and do the ones that you can, this will get any linear equation you have solved. So the first step is simplify both sides. Second step is to get x on one side. Third step is to move the constant. Constant is just a fancy name for the number without x. And fourth step is move the coefficient. Coefficient is just the fancy name for the number that is attached to x, or whatever variable you happen to have. Okay, so we're going to start off with some easy ones. These first few are literally just going to get you used to the idea of moving stuff around and specifically doing the opposite operation. All right, so in example 1, we have x plus 8 equals negative 3. Okay, so to be able to solve this one, the thing that we want to move is the constant. So we want to move this plus 8 and get it away from x, because in the end we want x equals some number. So if it's x plus 8, the opposite of that would be minus 8. So we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. If we do that, 8 minus 8 cancels out, so on the left side we're just left with x. On the right side, negative 3 minus 8 is negative 11. And that's it. We've solved our first equation. Right? Now, one thing to keep in mind, and I'm not going to do it for every single one in this video, but you can always check your answer. To do that, all you need to do is take whatever answer you got, in this case we got negative 11, and plug it back in for x. So it was negative 11, then plus 8 equals negative 3 was the rest of the equation. If we add negative 11 plus 8, that gives us negative 3. We got negative 3 equals negative 3, which is a true statement, so we know we got it right. All right, so let's look at some other ones. So example 2, negative 10 equals x minus 4. So in this case, the x is on the right-hand side, but it absolutely does not matter. All right, so in the end, if we get x equals some number or some number equals x, those mean the exact same thing, so we don't have to worry about which side x is on. So if we want to get rid of this minus 4, then the opposite of minus is plus. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6, equals, x comes down, and negative 4 plus 4 cancels out. So we got negative 6 as our answer. Third example. So in this one, we have negative 4y equals 36. So negative 4y really means negative 4 times y. So that's a multiplication, right? So if we want to get rid of multiplication, then we're going to divide. So if we divide both sides by negative 4, then negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1, so that is just going to cancel out. We're just left with y, equals 36 divided by negative 4 is negative 9. All right, last one of these easy little one-step ones. X divided by 8 equals negative 2. So in this case, what's happening to x is it's being divided by 8. Now remember from example 3, multiplication, division, those can undo each other, those can cancel each other out. So if we have division, we're going to want to multiply it. So we're going to multiply both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 on the left cancels out again. So we're just left with x equals -2 times 8 is -16. And that's our answer. All right, so hopefully that gets across the idea of just doing the opposite operation can move things around, can get rid of numbers on one side. All right, so the next couple, we're just going to be doing the same exact idea, just there's two things that are being done to x. All right, so we're going to have to get rid of both numbers. Now here's when the order of our steps comes in. So right now, simplifying both sides and getting x on one side, for examples 5 and 6, we're not going to have to worry about either of those. But steps 3 and 4 were move the constant, and to move the constant we're always going to be using plus or minus, and then move the coefficient by dividing. Right? Those are important to do in order. So if we look at example 5, the first thing we want to do is move the constant. So the constant in this case is the -3. It's the one that does not have x with it. So if we want to move -3 to the other side, we're just going to add 3 to both sides. Just like we were doing before, if it's a -3, we're going to do +3 to get rid of it. So in this case, we're left with 2x on the left equals 7 plus 3 is 10. Now if you look, we're back to something like example 3. We just have something multiplied by x equals a number. So that's where step 4 comes in. We move the coefficient, so the number with x, and we do that by dividing by that number. So if we have 2x, we just want to divide both sides by 2. We get x equals 5. All right, example 6 is going to go very similarly. So coefficient first, in this case that's the +7. So get rid of +7, we're going to do -7. So -9x comes down. 7 minus 7 cancels out. -38 minus 7 is going to be -45. All right, next step. We need to get rid of that -9. So to get rid of the -9, remember it's being multiplied by x. So we divide both sides by -9. So we get x equals +5, and that's our answer. All right, moving on to some harder ones, some ones that we may have to use a couple more of the steps. So for example 7, the thing in this one that makes it a little bit more difficult is the parentheses. So we got some parentheses right here, and it all looks just messier than before. That's where that very first step comes in. The first step was simplify. So simplify, that word in this context means to do two things. One, distribute. So any parentheses you see, you're going to get rid of them by distributing the number in front of it. 2, combine like terms. As in, if you have a couple things that have x on one side, you can just add those together. Right? Now, keep in mind, we're simplifying both sides separately, though. Right? As in, for example 7, this 11 is on its own side. We can't combine like terms with the 11 with anything on the left. Okay, so to show you what I mean, first thing we need to do is distribute so that negative 3 is going to multiply by everything inside. So x comes down. Negative 3 times 2x is going to be negative 6x. Negative 3 times 3 is going to be negative 9. And then that equals 11. Next, we have some like terms because both of these have x in them. So if we do x minus 6x, we get negative 5x minus 9 equals 11. If you notice, as soon as we finish that part, in this case, we're back to something that looks more like example 5 or 6. It can be done in 2 steps again. There's not x's on both sides, so we can skip over that step 2 from the steps at the top. We get to just go into moving the constant. So it's minus 9, so we're going to do plus 9 to move it over. So we got negative 5x equals 20. Then divide by the coefficient. So in this case, divide by negative 5. We get x equals negative 4. All right, let's try example 8. So same thing. First step, simplify both sides. So again, we have some parentheses that we can distribute to. So 5x plus 3 equals 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 6 is plus 12. All right, now in this case, we do actually have x's on both sides. All right, so our next step is going to be get x on one side. All right, it does not matter which x you move. So as we learned back on example 2, remember how we had negative 6 equals x, and that was perfectly fine? It means the same exact thing as x equals negative 6. That's perfectly fine. So it does not matter if you want to move x to the left or to the right, right? I'm going to go ahead and just move it to the left. So in this case, to do that, since we have a positive 2x, I'm going to subtract 2x. All right, so on the left, 5x minus 2x is going to give us 3x. The plus 3 is just going to come down. Equals 2x minus 2x, that cancels out, so all we have left is 12. Once again, we're back to that last 2 steps. Move the constant, so minus 3 on both sides. We got 3x equals 9. And divide by 3. So we got x equals 3 as our answer. All right. Moving on to example 9. So same thing as before. First step, we want to get rid of all the parentheses. So we're actually going to distribute 2 things, right? The first one's pretty obvious. We're going to be multiplying everything in the first parentheses by 2. So we're going to get 2x minus 4 equals 4x comes down. And in this case, we just have a minus in front of the parentheses, but there's actually a hidden 1 there. So it's really like we're going to multiply everything by negative 1. Right? Now you can think of it as actually multiplying by negative 1, or multiplying by negative 1, all it really does is flip the sign. So you can also just change the sign of everything inside the parentheses. Doesn't matter either way, you're going to get to the same result. You should end up with minus 6 and minus 2x. All right, we do have some like terms. So we have the 4x and then minus 2x. We can go ahead and combine those. So we get 2x minus 4 equals 2x minus 6. All right. And remember, I didn't combine the 2x on the left with them because it's on the left. It's on a different side. We're not combining that. All right, next up, we need to get x on one side. And some of you might already be noticing something that's about to happen. So if we want to move x, let's say to the left, then we need to subtract 2x from both sides. But in this case, 2x minus 2x cancels out, so we're just left with negative 4 equals 2x minus 2x again cancels out, we're left with negative 6. All right, so as soon as you ever get down to a number equals another number, whenever all the x's go away, what you need to ask yourself is if this is a true statement or a false statement, right? So in this case, does negative 4 equal negative 6? No, that's false. All right, they don't equal each other. So in this case, it actually means that this equation has no solution. Right. You might also see me use this symbol for no solution. Either one works, but that's what this means. It means there's no number that you could plug into that original equation that would make the sides equal. It just doesn't exist. All right, so let's try number 10 now. So number 10, again, we can go ahead and start by distributing. So we got 2x plus 8 equals, and on the right side, we can already see that there's going to be some like terms there. So I will go ahead and combine those. So we got 4x minus 2x is 2x. 3 plus 5 is 8. And you can already probably see what's going to happen again. If we try to move x's to one side, then both of them cancel. In this case, though, we have 8 equals 8. So remember, we have to ask ourselves, is this a true or false statement? Well, in this case, 8 does equal 8. That's true. So it's not no solution this time. Instead, we say that the solution is all real numbers. So what that means is if you put any number you can think of, 5, a million, 3.14, whatever number you want, if you put it into that original equation and simplify it, the sides will end up being equal to each other. Every single number you can think of works. Right. Now again, there is a little shorthand for this. It's an R with 2 lines on the left side. That means all real numbers. All right. So moving on to everybody's favorite topic, fractions. So these last 3 equations are going to have fractions in them. Now, I know that most students do not necessarily love fractions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the very first move of just wiping out all the fractions. So after one step, all the fractions will be gone and we can treat it just like the ones that we've been doing. To do that, we need something called the LCD. So the LCD stands for least common denominator. And basically it just means the lowest number that all of the denominators can divide evenly into. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with number 11, just so you can kind of see how it works. Number 11 is really easy because there's only one fraction. Right? So our LCD in this case is just going to be 4 because that's the only denominator. And remember, denominator means bottom of the fraction, so we don't need the 3 or 9 for the LCD purposes. So we're going to take that LCD and we're going to multiply both sides by it. So on the left side, 4 divided by 4 cancels out. We're just left with 3x equals, on the right side, 9 times 4 is 36. And now we're back to a nice and easy equation to deal with. No more fractions. We can deal with it just like we've dealt with all of the other ones now. So in this case, we would just have to divide by 3. And we get x equals 12. Okay, so what if there's more than one fraction? So in example 12, we have 3 different fractions. So we're going to look at the denominators. Those are 4, 2, and 4. So we want the LCD of 2 and 4, because those are the different numbers we see on the denominator. Well, the lowest number that can be divided by both 2 and 4 would be 4. Because 4 can divide by 2, 4 can divide by 4. So we're going to take that number, and this time we're going to multiply it by all of the fractions. So every single term in this equation is going to get multiplied by 4. Okay, so for the first one, that one's nice and easy because 4 and 4 again cancel out. We're left with 3x. For the second one, it's 4 times 1/2. So for this one, really all you have to do is 4 divided by 2 is 2, times 1 is still 2, so that's plus 2. Or you can go ahead and just put it into your calculator. It knows how to deal with that. Last one, again, nice and easy. 4 divided by 4 cancels out, so all that's left is the 1. All right, from this point, we're back to a normal equation, no fractions in sight, so we can subtract 2 from both sides. We get 3x equals -1. And we can divide both sides by 3. We get x equals -1/3. That is our answer. All right, last one. So for our last one, again, I'm going to start off by trying to find the LCD. In this case, we want the LCD of 8, 4, and 3. So think about it for a second. Pause the video if you need to. What number can be divided by 8, 4, and 3? And in particular, what's the smallest number that could be divided by all of those? So if you said 24, you would be correct, right? When in doubt, take the biggest number. In our case, the 8 is the biggest number. Write out its multiples, as in 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 8 is 24, plus 8 is 32, and so on. Your LCD is going to be the smallest one in this list that can be divided by 4 and 3 also. So just start dividing them by 4 and dividing them by 3 and see which one works. In this case, 8 can't divide by 3, 16 can't divide by 3, so both of those will be out immediately. 24, though, can be divided by 8, divided by 4, and divided by 3. That's the number we want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and multiply all of these by 24. So again, easiest way to work with the fractions if you don't want to use your calculator, divide by the bottom, multiply by the top. So 24 times 5/8, what we do is 24 divided by 8 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. For the next one, 24 divided by 4 is 6. 6 times a would be 6a. And for the last one, 24 divided by 3 would be 8. 8 times 2a would be 16a. Again, we are back to a normal equation without any fractions. All right, so from this point, hopefully y'all got the hang of it. Subtract 6a from both sides. We get 15 equals 10a. Divide both sides by 10. We get 3 halves equals a. All right, that is it for the solving linear equations part. In the next video, we're going to be talking about solving some basic inequalities as well as interval notation. So I will see you in that video. Bye, guys.